And my experience has been that I was looking for something different. I was looking for that they would audit our processes, systems, and come up with some suggestions so that we can be more compliant. But the entire process, which was there for 6 days, was only to look at where I have committed an error, and that's all. At the end of the day, that is what we received, that these are the places where we find you have committed errors. Fair enough, we would commit errors, we are not saying no, but we are looking for a process whereby the department, the audit team is so trained that they are able to come and go through your systems, processes, understand it, and suggest to us what we need to do to stay more compliant. Uniform practices across port was touched upon earlier. It's often the importer who is blamed that you shift from Chennai to Delhi or Delhi to Calcutta. It's not that. There have been varying practices, both in terms of assessment practice as well as procedures which have been there. Some ports have friendly procedures, others have longer procedures, and therefore trade obviously is looking for a faster solution. And what we need is really uniform practice. Queries and explanations, we have always to visit the custom houses. And I said, Ingram India is responsible for SAARC countries. And we do have a subsidiary in Singapore which services the SAARC countries, where we are not present physically. And my team in Mumbai manages the compliance for Singapore Strategic Goods Act and the laws there. And they do it seamlessly. Never visited Singapore till today. They do it through ensuring submissions of proper documents. And if there is a query, there is an email that we receive. We respond back to that query. Very occasionally, you need to call and explain the point. And it works. It works seamlessly, and I've seen this work now for many years. We need the law to be aligned with the intent with which it was announced. Otherwise, later on, we have gaps in understanding. I said earlier, a lot has changed for the better. Transaction cost, biggest gainer through EDI and e-payments. Lot more can be done. RMS, ACP, and self-appraisal have given us, reduced the TAT big time. Today, we are able to clear goods on the day it lands. It has reduced, if not eliminated, demurrage and detention. And that's a big relief. Dwell time at ports have reduced, and this has helped the ports manage larger volumes. Most important, we are able to commit to our customers deterministic timelines for both imports and exports. A few suggestions which I'll leave on the table, both for the department and for this August audience to consider. You're moving from ACP to AEO, and like we do, e-payment is extremely good, but end of the day, it's a 3-4 hours process. My assessment happens within 15 minutes. My e-payment takes much more time. Suggestion is, just as we pay electricity bill, I have option to go online and then pay it, or I have option to give a direct debit instruction. And if we can move to a direct debit instruction, because once my CHA has signed the bill of entry and taken out of charge, I have accepted the assessment. And that can be straight away used as a direct debit to my account, which is linked to the system. We have created huge facilities for trade and industry, and we have this concept of FTWZ. Many of us in industry are looking forward to a full-grown functioning of these FTWZs. And we are running subsidiaries outside of India. All that business can come straight to the country. Changes in these regulations to make it user-friendly will bring a lot more logistics business into this country. Another one is that, again, for the logistics industry, for the customs brokers, is that many suppliers overseas would like to deliver on DDP terms to Indian customers. As we have grown seamless with EDI, online payment, they would like to take up that responsibility of delivering the goods straight to the customer. Of course, the import declaration will remain that of the importer. And we need the law of the land to be amended to include more Incoterms so that DDP can become a possibility. When we export across the globe, whether it is US or Europe, we take on the role of a DDP. And we collect the documents for the customs declaration from the parties there and file and have a seamless contract with the customs broker to pick up, complete custom documentation, and pay duty and deliver at the doorstep of the customer. So that's what I would like to leave on the table for you. Thank you very much for giving this opportunity.
Thank you, Mr. D'Souza, for giving us the customer's perspective on the issue. I'd like to make a small correction. You made a statement that, you manufacture, you produce the goods, the importer or the manufacturer, and that we, custom brokers and logistic players, add a few percentage points of cost to the goods. I would say, no, we add a few percentage points of value to the goods, not cost. We increase. And the other small issue, I don't know how the government, we have issues with the government, but when an audit team comes, their job is to audit, means they have to look for errors. I don't think we can expect advice from them. We have issues, we would like clarity, we would like to have simplicity, but audit team will look for your errors only. So I think we'll have to be ready for that. So next we have...
I'm sorry. Just a very, very quick response. You said you have one thing to correct. I have more than one thing. but we'll leave that for some other discussion. On audit, since you mentioned that the role of audit is to find mistakes, I'd like to correct you. So unfortunately, I'm correcting both my colleagues. We have emphasized in OSPCA particularly that it is a participative audit. So no doubt, audit will find mistakes, but the idea is also to have a dialogue with the SSE and point out the remedial or corrective steps. So participative audit focuses on long-term improvement and not on finding a transaction mistake. I thought I'll just put it on record. Thanks.
Very happy to hear that. I think we're all very happy to hear that.
And that's exactly the point which I was making, that I was looking at that, but what I seen in reality was just error finding.
We have next Mr. Himanshu Tiwari. He's a partner in indirect trade practice of the BMR Associates Group, which is a legal firm. He specializes in customs and international trade compliance. He was himself a customs officer for many years, and so has a very unique double-sided view of the subject. He was our friend when he was in the department, and very happily for us, he has remained our friend. He has been in constant touch with us. He has helped us in making our representation to the CBC on self-assessment. And so we are looking forward to a very educative view from you, sir.
Thank you, George. Yeah. Thank you and very good afternoon to everyone. Let me start, respected Parande sir, respected Bhargav sir, respected Sandeep Bhatnagar sir, friends in trade, Shantanu, Dushyant, George, Nalesh, Ashish, Shankar, all of them have been, for last 20 years of my association, at different phases. They have been fantastic individuals, fantastic partners on a personal level and on a professional level. It is good to be with them on this forum. Thanks for giving us the opportunity to interact. Thanks for placing this trust of sharing some perspective on something that you do on a day in and day out basis. Thanks for being open to hear out an external's point of view on your life, your profession, your passion. Let me see if I can rise to the occasion to add some insights to what you do and what can be done for the future. For the distinguished delegates out here and the dignitaries on the dais, I am the person, I am culprit of holding you back from your lunchtime. Bear with us for those 15, 20 minutes. I guess you'll have some takeaways to think through, which we'll be able to discuss over lunch. Since yesterday, I have been intently hearing some of the distinguished speakers, including Shantanu from a perspective, and Shantanu has been sharing his perspective for last 10 or 15 days on what is the challenge that he sees. Yesterday we heard Sumit Bose, our Revenue Secretary, on a very, very informed, in-depth, well-documented, researched perspective of what happened to this community in US 17th century, how they evolved, and what is the status today. So painting that picture on a timeline of 200, 300 years was fantastic to hear that, and how the expectation has continued to be the same from customs broker community, that department and the trade expects professionalism, expects good moral character, expects insights, supports, and that continues to be the yardstick for customs broker of today also. We have heard a lot of focused attention on change and the challenge. That is a problem statement for all of us, why we are here together, to put our brains on this problem statement as to what is the change, what is happening in the change in the customs space, and what are the challenges that are coming out of it. I guess one of the expected takeaways from this interaction is that out of this problem statement, what can be the solution for us? What can create a hope for us for the future? And I see a very distinct connect between a problem statement and a solution is the attributes of the person who are, or the group of people who are faced with the problem statement, with the challenge. How do they respond in life to those challenges? And the attributes which to me look that leads us to success are adaptability in a changing environment, courage to take up the challenge, and hopes that things will work out, we'll be able to create a new wave and ride a new wave. With these three attributes as the focus, adaptability, courage, and hope, if these are what lead us to success, to build up new waves, let me say it with conviction, with lot of conviction of my past 20 years of experience of intense and close interaction with the community sitting out here, that I have seen all these three attributes as living embodiments in the customs broker community. And if that gives me faith and hope that you will resolve, whether you believe it or not, as an outsider I believe that you will be able to create new wave, you will be able to build up new skill sets, you will be able to adapt to the challenges that you are facing, and we will see you riding afresh. In the morning, one of the KPMG speakers was saying that customs broker community somewhere in that graph appeared to be a sinking ship. I guess from a challenge perspective, we need to be mindful that yes, there are challenges, but is it a sinking ship? I beg to differ. I guess with those attributes that I see in customs broking community, you will for sure come up as a winner, you will reinvent yourself, and we'll put our minds together as to how we can reinvent. Thank you. Moving forward, some global perspective, and in past 10 years of my professional life, I've been interacting with a lot of global customs and international trade compliance professionals, be it in Singapore, be it in US, be it in Europe. And these are the three areas. I'm taking these names deliberately because these are the three geographies where you will find evolved professionals in this field. Other areas and other geographies, it is a work in progress. So when you interact with these professionals in these countries, what you realize is, and a crux of their understanding is, that globally the countries, if there are 180 countries across the globe, and each one will have its own customs regulation and the ways to look at it, though a lot of custom regulations have been harmonized through WCO interventions, which is fantastic, that gives us predictability, visibility, as the goods move across borders. They say that the countries can be, at a very high level, can be put in two baskets. One, those evolved geographies and nations where the goods are released from the border, from the customs jurisdiction quickly. Those are quick release countries. You get your goods, it will zip through the system. And there are other countries. So, like if we heard it right, Mr. Gautam Chatterjee yesterday referred to the Logistics Performance Index and said that Singapore ranks first in that Logistics Performance Index, and we in India stand at 46 ranking. I guess Singapore falls in that quick release category, and that is why it gets the recognition of the most performing country from a logistics perspective. But what happens in the quick release country, quick release is what we see from a form perspective, that goods zip through it. But there's a whole system which works below that quick release event, which makes this quick release happen in a responsible, accountable way. And India is hoping to. WCO is working towards making every country a quick release country, but it is a work in progress. All these introductions of EDI system, risk-based intervention systems, self-assessment systems, these are tiny steps where India is gradually moving towards that quick release, to be a quick release country. But historically, and I haven't seen the Logistics Performance Index report of 2002 or maybe 1992, if India ranks at 46 today, I'm sure that in those years it would have been somewhere around 100 or around that time. Things have changed in past 10 years, which is fantastic. Things will change for the future, that's very clear, and we'll have a role to play in those changes, which is fantastic. Shantanu has been talking about the winds of change and the need to reset the sails. It is important, winds of change are sweeping. The pace at which the change is happening requires focused attention and deliberation, putting our minds together as to what is changing, what are the blocks of those changes, and how we can adapt to those changes. In the past, and I've kept at the extremes, there used to be there are transaction-focused customs jurisdictions and there are process-focused customs jurisdictions. Transaction-focused customs jurisdictions which actually, there's an import document, there's an invoice, there's a bill of lading, and there's a packing list based on which one assessment gets done. India has been that country in the past. There are process-focused jurisdictions which primarily where all the documentation, the data are in control, the documents are in control, the authenticity, integrity, ethics of the participants is very well certified. And in that case, governments get the confidence that yes, if that is the case, I don't want to look into on transaction by transaction basis. We will get back to you on a post-import audits kind of a scenario and sit with you and have a consultative kind of a dialogue that yes, you have been allowed to import things quick and get a quick clearance. Can we sit together at the end of the year when the audit team sits with you and ask you those questions which gives us perspective as to what has not worked. So there will be audit-based tools which will actually analyze the data for the past 1 year of import, see what does not fall within the accepted bandwidth, see those aberrations, have a discussion on aberrations, have that consultative thing. Things will evolve to that. But in the process, there will be pain points. Some of the past habits will take time to change. the audit-based skill sets will develop over a period of time for the people within the organization at the customs jurisdictions. Audit-based tools, getting familiar with them, getting familiar with the analysis of the large amount of data, it is a process. It will happen. Those changes that we are expecting, Blaze, that in future, whether there will be suggestions, I'm sure there will be. But in the process, there will be a learning, there will be a period of pain, there will be a period of transition. And we'll have to constructively contribute to that period of change to the extent that we can contribute. We can see that, and I won't read through the whole slide, but the transaction-focused systems which India used to be in the past, where import documents were the only source of information for the purpose of assessment. It was a centralized assessment, and assessment used to be in that power center called Custom House. Cost of compliance was higher than the cost of non-compliance. It encouraged rent-seeking behaviors. As different from that, the future of the process-based would be audit-based controls, risk-based interventions. Information collation will be from multiple sources. And I would like to pause for a minute on this, because in the past, information source used to be the packing list, invoice, and the bill of lading. In the future, it will be the whole production process will be evaluated, the finance, all the cost streams and the revenue streams will be married to see how do they interplay with the custom regulation and the compliances requirement. And until unless people have the visibility and the understanding of the cost streams and the revenue streams, you won't be able to, there is all likelihood of error. And we need to, in that sense, from an industry perspective, and Pramod, you are here, and Blaze, I guess my take, and it is a perspective that I'm happy to share with you, that the customs business function in the industry has to take on responsibilities as, and I'm drawing a comparison, as there used to be a commissioner of customs of a custom house, under which the whole mechanism used to work. Similarly, the customs function within an individual company and industry, that custom function needs to seek out, and it needs to be empowered and skilled to an extent that it can seek out right kind of information from various other functions, from the logistics, from the supply chain, from the finance, from the operations, from the commercial. Seek those informations, apply it in context of the custom regulation, and judge and do that self-assessment. And in that process of self-assessment, customs broking community will form the base of the pyramid, which will give you the right kind of insights and inputs to be able to make those right calls and move forward. So somewhere, getting into a custom commissioner's role used to take in career 20, 25 years of time. Here, you have been entrusted with a responsibility without the privilege of those 25 years of experience behaving in that role, but there's a trust that you will rise up to it and deliver in that responsibility. What has changed in Customs Act? And Customs Act, as I see it, past 20 years I have been spending time on this document. Initially, it used to be a black and white, something written on a white paper with the black alphabets out there. But it is a living document. It evolves with evolution of business. It evolves with the DNA, how India as a nation is performing, how the global trade, so it has a global dimension to it, which plays a role in its evolution. There's a national dimension, there's a business dimension to it. It is an evolving document, and in that document, one thing which has not changed is Section 12, which is the charging section. Imported goods will be charged to taxes. However, the machinery provisions for collection of those taxes have dramatically changed. 2007, Section 14 changed. 2011, Section 17 has changed. And all the other blocks have been put in of these changes. We need to understand as to how does this machinery provision for collection of taxes work. As an industry, in the past, the machinery provisions was the understanding of the machinery provisions was the responsibility of the customs department. Now understanding those machinery provisions is part of trade responsibility, which leads us to the next element of what are these. Let us try and discuss some of the elements of this winds of change, which require us to reset the sail. As I mentioned, that self-assessment and the impact of that self-assessment regime is that what used to be a centralized custom house, maybe in Mumbai, in Bangalore, in Chennai, that all-powerful custom house, in some sense, has disintegrated, and a smaller custom house related to individual business organizations have propped up within each business organizations. Whether we can feel that impact of that change, whether we are prepared, whether we have already 2 years have passed by. In my personal assessment, the impact of this change of self-assessment will be felt and experienced by the industry over next 5 to 10 years as they actually experience the impact of it. The change is dramatic. In substance, the form of the change may not have changed. You still file a bill of entry. So in form, it appears that the life is continuous, nothing has changed. But there's a paradigm shift which has happened. In substance, things have changed. Who needs to do what has been redefined. And we need to be mindful and recognize that what is required to do, perform that new role. Verification by customs. The word has not been defined. The concept will evolve with dialogue, discussion, and disputes. I'm very sure a lot of us in last 2 years would have felt that we file the trade files the self-assessment bill of entry. Audit has a right to intervene, but this 17(4)(7) talks about verification by customs. What does it mean? What does, in the legal machinery provision, where does this concept of verification stand? Is there a definition? I guess, and this is the living aspect of the document that I'm talking about. Word has been introduced. That concept is relevant somewhere. But I guess there's a dialogue, there's an intense, focused dialogue required as to what does it mean, what is the role that it plays, what is the judicial responsibility of the person who does that verification, and how he should be accountable. Expanded scope of on-site audit. As I mentioned that in the past there used to be transaction-based audit. Audit also used to be transaction-based. In the focus, audit will be system-based, process-based, multifunctional, organizational information will be analyzed to draw conclusions. The whole underlying the basics of the customs assessment changes with this on-site audit concept. As I foresee, the nature, the origin, and the span of disputes will change in days to come. What used to be transaction-based, bill of entry-based disputes, the discussion, the financial impact of the discussion used to be whether 2 lakhs extra duty is required to be paid or 5 lakhs of duty is required to be paid or not. In future, disputes will not be limited to transactions. They'll be linked to the underlying processes, underlying valuation principles. Even the denomination of the dispute will change. It won't be a 2 lakhs, 5 lakhs, 50 lakhs kind of a dispute. And if you see in past few years, there was a recent reporting of a Chennai multinational car maker. The dispute being investigated is 650 crores. So with on-site audit, picking up deeper cases, deeper issues with the larger framework of information available to them, the denomination of the disputes will change. And accordingly, the response to the disputes will change. It was for a customs function owner within the trade, it was within his powers to decide on 2 lakhs, 5 lakhs, 10 lakhs, 20 lakhs kind of issues. The financial responsibility matrix allowed him to take decisions that if the goods are required quickly, take a call, do a cost-benefit analysis and move on. With the size of disputes ranging to 100 crores, 50 crores, I guess the financial responsibility matrix will go a fundamental change.